worlds apart. 'Cause fuck now, we lost in limbo. Remembering what you said though, and I asked you if we'd make it far. That one last kiss that they write about, my one last wish you could never doubt. I trust angels who fly away from you, and you told me that we'd never die. Gave me so many reasons why we were meant to be. Then she said no, 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 no. No, 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 you should. I've earned the cost and now I've paid it. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, please don't go. I know my face a memory erasing. Been a few years since I heard your voice, yeah. Lost a few here, but it's not by choice, no. Girl, I see your face every day when I look through my phone. Can't delete all these memories, won't leave me alone. Hit my blind side, never saw you coming. You were so wild, but no, I was nothing. And I'm nothing now, nothing's changed. You know I'm just the same. Miss you now, but I hope that someday you explain. That one last kiss that they write about, my one last wish you could never doubt. I trust angels who fly away from you, and you told me that we'd never die. Gave me so many reasons why we were meant to be. Then she said,
well, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Good to see everyone. Today is July 5th, 2023, 3:32 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States. Thank you all so much for joining me. Hope you all had an amazing 4th of July, Independence Day for those celebrating in the United States. Good to see you. Hello, everyone. Hello. While you guys are coming in, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Very, very important to the channel. Our mods, they are in blue. If you have any questions in our channel, you can ask them. If I don't get to see it, they'll be happy to answer what they can. And our members, they are in green. They are what helps keep the lights on here. So thank you all to our members and our Patreons. Good to see everyone. So the last month or so, I was talking to ICU and about it and some others. I was like, is there a case out there that we could compare anything to that's similar to Summer Wells? Because you have to admit, and even the TBI said this case is outside the norm. Definitely is outside the norm. But just because Summer's case is outside the norm, other kids go missing. And there had to be something out there. And I went scouring, digging, looking. And the closest that I have seen that we can compare anything to compared to Summer Wells is a little boy, 2 years old, who went missing in Idaho. Back to Idaho, 1 second here. Pull this up. So there, and first of all, for those of you that maybe you guys have heard of this story, maybe you haven't, but This story is his little boy named DeOrr Kunz Jr., the toddler who vanished on a family camping trip. So I'm going to tell you the story, and then you're going to see some similarities. But then we're going to really narrow it down and compare the two, because this is just an article and it doesn't necessarily give all the details, and I'm going to show you. Marie, you kind of remember this one. Interesting. Okay, very good. I apologize in advance. I'm a little stuffy. Had some illness going around at our house right now, and it's just what happens when you travel, right? Yes, Carmen, you are absolutely right. Parents kind of sus in the DeOrr case too. Yes. All right. So in 2015, 2-year-old DeOrr Kunz Jr. disappeared from a campground in, I think it's called Lehman High County, Idaho, and no trace of him has ever been found. Look at this adorable, adorable little boy. Still no answers. Still no answers. DeOrr Kunz Jr. was only 2 years old when he vanished from the campground. In the summer of 2015, 2-year-old DeOrr Kunz Jr. went on a camping trip with his family at Timber Creek Campground in Lehman High County, Idaho, pardon me. But this trip soon turned into a nightmare. On the afternoon of July 10th, 2015, DeOrr seemingly vanished. But you and I know, for all of us here in true crime, and even if you're not into true crime, kids don't vanish. They don't vanish. Now, so you already have, they both happened in the summer. They both happened in very remote parts of the country. We have, rural Tennessee and, rural Idaho. 4 people had been at the campground with little DeOrr, but all of them offered conflicting accounts of what happened that day. And in the time since his disappearance, police haven't found a single trace of the little boy, despite multiple searches conducted over the 2 years. Now, it's been obviously over 2 years now. We're going on 8 years, and still no answers. To this day, investigators don't know what happened to him. Was he attacked by an animal? Was he abducted by a stranger? Did he drown in the river? Or did his parents have something to do with it? So the events leading up to the disappearance of DeOrr Jr., Vernal DeOrr Kunz, his girlfriend Jessica Mitchell, and their 2-year-old son DeOrr Kunz Jr. lived in Idaho Falls, Idaho in 2015. In early July, Vernal and Mitchell decided to take DeOrr on the last-minute camping trip to Timber Creek campgrounds in the Salmon Chillis National Park. They were joined on the trip by DeOrr's great-grandfather, Robert Walton. So we instantly have baby DeOrr, mom, dad, grandpa, right? Now there's one more that's going to be involved here. All right, where was I? Ann Walton and Walton's friend Isaac, is it Rainwand? Yeah, Rainwand, okay. Isaac Rainwand. So the old grandfather brought his buddy. And the buddy, he's a unique one, to say the least. You know, he's a real unique individual, to put it mildly. So now we have the baby, mom, dad, grandpa, and grandpa's friend. 5 individuals on this trip. So it was about a 2-hour drive to the campground, with a quick stop at a convenience store along the way, and the group arrived in the evening of July 9th. DeOrr helped his parents set up the campsite and build a fire, and the family went to bed. The group spent most of the following morning relaxing at the campground. Then, for a brief window of time that afternoon, the party split up. DeOrr's mother, Jessica Mitchell, told investigators that she asked her grandfather, Walton, to watch baby DeOrr while she walked around the campground with Vernal, the father. But in the interview with police, Walton said he never heard Mitchell ask him to watch DeOrr. He claimed he was in the trailer relaxing alone when the boy went missing. Rainwand, meanwhile, said he had gone down to the nearby river to go fishing, and that DeOrr was not with him either. During the period of time while everyone had gone their separate ways, the 2-year-old boy went missing. So here is baby DeOrr, and here is DeOrr's father. About a half an hour went by before anyone realized the child was gone. Both parents called 911 on their cell phones at around 2:30 p.m. They told the dispatcher that their son was last seen wearing a camouflage jacket, blue pajama pants, and cowboy boots. And while they said their happy little man never went anywhere without his blanket, his sippy cup, or his toy monkey, all 3 were left at the campsite. Immediately, authorities organized a search party, and they combed Timber Creek Campground thoroughly for the next 2 weeks. Unfortunately, their efforts were in vain. DeOrr was nowhere to be found. The evolving accounts of what happened to DeOrr. Despite several searches over the 2 years, sometimes with ATVs, helicopters, horses, canine units, drones, DeOrr Jr.'s whereabouts are still a mystery. The case has also been scrutinized by 3 separate private investigators, but nothing that might lead them to DeOrr has ever been found. All 4 individuals who had been with DeOrr Kunz Jr. on the day of his disappearance have been interviewed multiple times, yet their stories didn't match up. Walton, who initially claimed he was relaxing in the trailer and was never with DeOrr, later admitted to having seen his great-grandson near the river, but when he looked away for a moment, the toddler had vanished. Walter died in 2019. So Grandpa died. So he's out of the question. Now, on his deathbed, he still says that he knows absolutely nothing on his deathbed. And usually people, if they're involved, they're going to say it on their deathbed. They don't want to take that with them. But he didn't. Now, Mom and Dad are being less than truthful, said the Limhi County Sheriff Lynn Bowerman, according to the Idaho State Journal. We've interviewed them multiple times, and every time there was changes to parts of their story. The little things all change every time we speak to them. Bowerman added that Walton and Rainward can't be ruled out either as a possible persons of interest because they were also there at the scene, but there were less reason to believe that they were involved in DeOrr's disappearance. So here is the mother of baby DeOrr. Her name is Jessica, and here's, of course, baby DeOrr. You think you've heard this a little bit. This was a national story. It really was. However, there is a lot of questions. How was the baby allowed to be near the river? Well, that's, also if you believe him, but the river, I don't think was that, like, it wasn't, they would have found him. They would have found this child if he was anywhere near that. They have tried to search. They have searched up and down, sideways, 3 different investigators, private investigators. But, what are some of the similarities between this case and Summer Wells' case? Well, first off, you have, again, when I tell you that this place is rural, it is even more remote than where Don and Candace is. Now, we have the animal theory. We've had the animal theory with Summer Wells' case and DeOrr case here. If anything would have happened, oh my goodness, Sepsis, thank you so much, my love. Thank you so much, Sepsis. Appreciate it. Thank you for being with me. Oh, thank you, sweetheart. You're very kind. I do appreciate your support. It means the world to me. Thank you, my babes. It took well over an hour to just get to the campsite, and it is one road. Let me see if I can pull this up. Thank you again, Sepsis. You're very sweet, my love. It's very caring. Thank you. Let me show you. Let me show you this road. Library. 2 seconds, y'all. Okay. To give you a link so you guys can, this is a good documentary on this case. I just dropped the link. All right, now let me show you. I'm trying to find the road. I mean, it is literally in the middle of nowhere. Let me see here. Let me see here. Oops.
Couldn't keep their stories straight.
Were you changing your stories and why?
I believe that a lot of it is like,
Bowerman also told
I mean, look at this. Look at this area. I mean, it is in the middle of no freaking where, right? And there is one way in and one way out. What does that sound like? It sounds very similar to the Summer Wells case, right? You got parents were there, grandparents were there in both cases. Both were very rural. One way in, one way out. You've got the animal thing that, did an animal take them? Well, no. An animal did not take baby DeOrr or Summer in either one of these cases. They leave a lot of, clothing and all of that, obviously. Now, what else do you have? Well, the mother and the father, in baby DeOrr's case, they were high school sweethearts. They'd been together, kind of on and off, I guess, for a while. Now, Jessica, she had 2 kids prior. And what did she do? She signed her rights away. Who else does that sound like in the Summer Wells case? Don and Candace, right? Except theirs were taken from them. And there is obviously alleged DRUG between the two. It's very interesting because in baby DeOrr's case, you have a grandfather, and in Summer's case, you have the grandmother. The uprising Justin didn't say that. What are you talking about? I see you. Yeah, big red flags, big red flags. One way in, one way out. Now, both parents are saying that they never saw anything. They never heard anything, that they just don't know what happened. Now, Don and Candace, they say, well, someone snuck up on there and tried to get Summer. Well, just like the sheriff says in baby DeOrr's case, it's virtually impossible. Virtually impossible. So, they the closest drive to any sort of civilization was there was in baby DeOrr's case it took about 45 minutes to get to just an old country store, and the parents were seen at this country store at a period of time after, or maybe it was before they had said that baby DeOrr went missing. Maybe I pulled up the wrong one. Hold on a second. Here it is. Thank you, Bitter Pill to Swallow. Thank you so much for 3 months, my love. We will never give up on finding you, precious girl. Amen to that. Amen to that. We certainly will not ever quit. Where was this? Okay. The group was on a family fishing trip, and DeOrr disappeared around 2:40 p.m. On that day, Mitchell and Vernal decided to take a camping and fishing trip all of a sudden and unexpected, according to other family members. So all of a sudden, according to, the family members who they just said, hey, we want to go on a fishing trip. Just pack the stuff, we're going. That's a little weird. That's a little weird, isn't it? That they would just all of a sudden just, especially having a 2-year-old. Now, little DeOrr, he supposedly had way oversized cowboy boots on. He is 2. And for a 2-year-old, the average, like when they go missing, the maximum amount of, area that or the average amount of area a 2-year-old can, cover whenever they go missing is about 4/10 of a mile. I think that's what they said, 4/10 of a mile. Which isn't really a lot when you think of it. David was joking. He wasn't a detective. He was a patrol officer. Are you talking? Okay. There was 3 different private detectives, I guess you could say, on here. One, they had a big falling out with. Now, okay, where was it? Okay, so Jessica and Vernal believed their son's great-grandfather, Robert Walton, was watching DeOrr Jr. and at the Timber Creek campground. And while his great-grandfather thought the boy was down by the creek with his parents, and Isaac DeOrr was wearing a camouflage jacket and blue pants at the time, he vanished. The parents' separate 911 calls, police interviews, and other evidence triggered investigation that left more questions than answer. There have been no signs of baby DeOrr since that day, and nobody has ever been charged in connection with his disappearance. Mitchell and Kunz Sr. were named suspects in January of 2016 by former Lamehigh, is that how you pronounce it? County Sheriff Lynn Bowerman, but they were never arrested or ever charged. So the former sheriff, after a year, did say they were suspects, persons of interest. Now, they did end up taking a polygraph test. They passed, except for, I believe, 2 questions, and they were like the main questions. So they ended up failing from, I think they passed some, but they failed some, but they overall failed. Now, the finger has been on mainly the parents in baby DeOrr's case, and of course Summer's case, but people thinks that Jessica and the grandfather knows more in a lot of this, from what I gather. We have wars on Earth. We don't need them in space. I agree with that. They had a falling out with the PI because he thinks they are involved or whatever happened to DeOrr. Yeah, one of the PIs that they hired, I think after a couple months, he said he believes it was the parents. And then there have also been PIs that said the parents weren't, in their opinion, they weren't involved. But I'm going to tell you one thing. Somebody at that campsite knows what happened to baby DeOrr. Somebody knows. They have to. They have to know what happened. Guys, we only have 136 likes. Can we please hit that like button? Please, please, please. Look here. I mean, here's like the campground, right? Literally one way in, one way out. Now here is Isaac, the other Grandpa's friend. This is Grandpa, and here's Grandpa's friend. I guess no trail cams. No, it is highly remote. So 6 months out of the year, on certain mountains and banks there, it is snow. And the other 6 months, it is, just dry. So, it's crazy. Here, I'm gonna play this. I hope I don't get in trouble for it, but we'll try it. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna play this. We'll play it and watch it. All right, let me just get this credit so I can play this. Credit. So all right, here we go. Credit goes to KTVB, using this under the Fair Use Act of 1976 for commentary and educational purposes only. Full credit goes to KTVB. Link is in the description, and also in the chat for people who want to view this straight through.
I just want my boy.
In a KTVB exclusive
It is sickening how quickly
for 4 years, there could finally
Okay,
going.
here we go.
I've always called him Goober.
Can y'all hear that? Let me know if y'all can hear that. I remember the baby's name, not the details of things. You're welcome. Okay, perfect. Y'all can hear that. Okay.
That's just been my nickname for him, just because the stuff he does, the kid stuff he does. I've always been very proud of him. I didn't really cry about much. He just was just easy going.
He's just a good kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's just little things like the smell of lavender baby wash. I can't smell that because it takes me back to giving him baths. Some days it's like I feel like I just saw him, like he was just with me. And then other times it feels like it's been.
Okay, so the man that was there, that is the father to baby DeOrr, and this is the mother to, this is Jessica.
Forever.
Here's the camping area.
It was July 2015 on a camping trip to Timber Creek Campground near DeOrr, Idaho.
Wilderness.
4 people made the trip. DeOrr's mom, Jessica Mitchell, his dad.
So mom, dad, grandpa, and grandpa's friend. Okay? Now remember, we want to learn about this case, obviously, but we also want to kind of keep it. This is the closest case that I could find that was similar to the Summer Wells case.
DeOrr Kunz, his great-grandfather Bob Walton, and Bob's friend Isaac Reinwand. They were the last to see baby DeOrr alive. He vanished on the second day of camping when Jessica and Vernal left the campsite to go fishing at a nearby reservoir. The parents said maybe DeOrr was kidnapped from the campground or that an animal had gotten him. There's one more theory, that someone on that camping trip did something to him.
Do you have anything to hide?
No.
Now, mom, dad, everyone has maintained their innocence. Grandpa died on his deathbed the day before he died. He was talking, about this case. He just wanted it solved. He says no. Most people feel like that I have seen, in my opinion, Jessica knows more. And maybe the dad, but specifically Jessica, the mother.
Absolutely not.
We had nothing to do with this, and we don't know anymore. And I understand
Here's dad.
and how it looks and how it sounds. We just don't know anymore. And we wish we did, trust me. We wish we did. This is not a way for anybody to live.
Accusations and rumors about the parents' involvement began to emerge not long after baby DeOrr disappeared. And after 1 year of no answers, now retired Limhi County Sheriff Lynn Bowerman named the parents suspects.
We've given them.
Okay, so this is the former sheriff. This is not the sheriff now, the former sheriff. So this is him talking.
Too many opportunities to tell us what happened if it was an accident, and there's been no interest in going that direction. So that tells me there's only one other possibility. It has to be a homicide.
Bowerman told me
They've even offered Jessica immunity, saying, listen, if it was an accident, just tell us so we can find maybe DeOrr, and she wouldn't take it.
2016, it was highly unlikely baby DeOrr was kidnapped. There's one road in and one road out to the remote.
There it is. There's that road. All right. One road in, one road out. Summerwell's case, right? One way in, one way out. That's it.
Timber Creek campground. And if an animal or person had taken him, there would be evidence left behind, like DeOrr's boots that were too big for him.
See, DeOrr's boots. Summer may have had shoes on, probably didn't. Right?
Bowerman believed they would have fallen off. But after days and weeks
No animals.
of searching, not a trace of DeOrr found at the campground.
Sheriff Bowerman, he said, I don't even know if DeOrr was up there at that campground.
You know, eventually I'll be able to prove a lot of these theories wrong, but
What do you mean by that?
that's just a theory that is wrong. You know, my son was very...
Bowerman also told me Vernal, DeOrr, and Jessica couldn't keep their stories straight.
Were you changing your stories and why?
I believe that a lot of it is like blocking things out. You know, you're so emotional, you're trying to remember everything as they're asking you all these questions 1,000 times. And being drained and not sleeping and, you know, everything all at once, you block things out or you forget.
I mean, I understand it's a lot coming at you. It is a lot coming at you, but you should be able to keep your story straight. There's only one truth. There's only one truth when you're telling a story. And when you tell the truth, it never changes. Never, ever, ever changes. If Summer had no shoes on, even more likely she couldn't have gone far. That's exactly right, Flipper. Exactly. And listen, you know, kids and stuff, when they disappear, they're not traveling up mountains, these big mountains. They take the path of least resistance, of what is easiest. I mean, the only reason, you know, they're not going to climb up, you know, multiple mountains for fun. They take the path of least resistance.
It wasn't just Bowerman who thought the parents were hiding something. In November 2015, 4 months after baby DeOrr disappeared, the family began working with Philip Klein, a private investigator they hired out of Texas. After about 6 weeks on the job, Klein made his announcement.
Okay, now this is the controversial, allegedly controversial, private investigator.
I was very clear. I said, look, you're not going to like what I have to say. And it was like, oh my God, these two people are suspects.
Are you lying?
Absolutely not. I just...
Why the smile? Are you lying?
These two people are suspects.
Are you lying?
Look at this. This is, why smile like this? Watch this.
Absolutely not. I just, yeah.
Weird to me. See, she's not, reporter's not smiling. She's looking away.
I have nothing good to say about Klein in all reality because he was there for the money. He didn't care about my son. The minute he got that money, he was, oh, it's the parents.
I'm surprised by your reaction, really, because, I mean, in not so much words, he essentially called you a murderer, Jessica.
Yeah, and that, I just think about the truth is going to come out.
The truth is going to come out. Hopefully. Hopefully it's going to come out. That's what Don and Candace also say. Wait till the truth comes out.
And, you know, like other people, they're going to eat their words because I have nothing to hide.
Your name's destroyed.
Listen, please let us eat our words. Please, just let us, we just need to know where these children are.
Your life destroyed. And unfortunately, the minute he come out and said that he believes that my son is deceased, people stopped looking for him. They just automatically condemned him to being deceased and condemned me and his mother as branded killers as something we're not. And it was wrong. It really was. And then the social media thing just exploded it, and everybody.
So there was a big social media thing, you know, with this. This was a national story. He says it's bigger than anybody knows too. Yeah. You know, and again, they blame, oh, it's all about the money, all about this, all about
He has their
that.
conspiracy theories.
Vernal DeOrr says Klein accused them without any evidence of proof. His attorney tells me they've asked, but they say Klein has never provided them with one factual piece of evidence to back his claims. Klein is now off the case.
But why would he do this, though? Why would he, just so that he can solve the case? What is your belief
It wasn't
on
even
that?
to
We never solved
solve the case. It was just to be able to be right in front of it was just to be able to have more
More media coverage?
More media coverage, to be in front of a camera, to try and get more clients for business. It had nothing to do with finding my child.
Says, no, nothing to do with finding his child. If you've studied trauma, you would know that people need time to think before answering because little things do change.
Klein even said Jessica confessed to knowing where the body was.
Did you know where the body was? Were you going
Absolutely not. I'm pretty sure that I would have been arrested a long time ago if that's what I said.
It's one thing for
So this PI, he says Jessica told him that she knew where the body was, or no. That's a big statement. You see, even with other cases, not just the Summer Wells case, just ridiculous statements do come out. Like they know where, you know, we've heard Summer was alive. We've heard, you know, the Fred Hill story in the jail, and just so many, the Chase stories, craziness, you know, Candace making up her things about Dawn and, you know, January 6th and all that stuff, right?
a private investigator in Texas who you say is media hungry to name you as a suspect, to, as you say, kind of throw your name through the mud. But it's another to have a sitting sheriff call our newsroom and say, you know, I am naming them as suspects. I think this is a case of homicide.
Well, that doesn't mean it's how it was. That was just it.
So previous sheriff said him, or you know, the parents, this is the father, Jessica he thought they were suspects.
In his opinion, we were suspects.
Current Limhi County Sheriff Steve Penner does not call the parents suspects.
This is the current sheriff right here. Now he, from what I understand, even to this day, doesn't think, or he doesn't say that the parents are suspect. He says there's, I forget what he calls it.
And if they say they had nothing to do with baby DeOrr's disappearance, then who did? After all, there were 2 more people on that camping trip, including Isaac Reinwand.
Okay, here's the guy we was talking about earlier. This is Grandpa's friend. He is extraordinarily eccentric. But eccentric doesn't make you someone that snatches up babies and they're never found, right? And I'll be honest with you, I don't think this guy has anything to do with it. I don't think this guy has anything to do with it.
Do you think he had anything to do with your son's disappearance?
I feel like, yes, he does. I felt it from day one.
Isaac's response next. What happened to baby DeOrr? The parents say the 2-year-old disappeared while camping near Leadore, Idaho in July 2015. That maybe he'd been kidnapped or an animal had gotten him. Retired Limhi County Sheriff Lynn Bowerman didn't buy it. He named the parents suspects in 2016. He said he believed Jessica and Vernal DeOrr know where their son is and whether he is dead or alive.
They could not
Okay, here's the sheriff now.
pass the section on, do you know where DeOrr?
Couldn't pass the section, do you know where DeOrr Kunz is, and do you know what happened to him? They could not pass the 2 parts of the polygraph.
Kunz is at this time, and do you know what happened to him? They could not pass those 2 parts of the polygraph.
Jessica has said she believes Isaac Reinwand is to blame. Isaac and Jessica's grandfather, Bob Walton, were also on that camping trip. Isaac was Bob's friend. The parents say they didn't even know Isaac until that trip. They say Bob wanted him to come.
I felt it from day one, just a lot.
So the parents didn't know the guy that was sitting on that
A lot of red
cooler.
flags have come up
Grandpa
for me.
just brought in.
What was it? Can you share that? What were the red flags?
He was gone longer than anybody else was from the campground. Didn't help us search at all for my son. Was drinking. Staying in his tent the whole time people were searching. Factory resets on his phone 3 different times. Just odd things.
I have to ask, did you do something to DeOrr?
No.
Jessica says she and Vernal DeOrr walked away from their campsite to go fishing at a nearby reservoir. She says they left baby DeOrr with Bob. Isaac was also there. But why would Isaac do something to DeOrr?
He was upset that my son was there. And the night that we got there, on Thursday night, he said, "Why would you even bring a kid up here?"
Did they pass a lie detector test? They failed 2 of the biggest questions. Do you know where your son is? And did you have anything to do with it? All of their individual first reports were so important. Wells had time to follow a script.
At 2.5. You know, and I said, because he's my son and he goes everywhere with us. Why would we not bring our child camping? He loves camping. It's not his first
Now, she has 2 children that she gave up rights to prior.
camping trip, you know. So there's just a lot of things that did not add up to me. And I feel it in my gut that something is not right.
All I know is DeOrr was up there with us. We were camping. Next thing you know, it was gone. And there was 4 adults up there. And for some reason, none of us know what went down. Somebody does, but I can't point fingers at somebody when I don't know, you know?
Isaac says he was
Now, Isaac, he still won't point fingers toward anybody. He's like, we were all up there and nobody knows.
questioned by the FBI, Limhi County, and Bonneville County detectives. He also took a lie detector test, but wouldn't tell me if he passed or failed.
What do you think happened to baby DeOrr?
I have no idea. Maybe it was an accident or something. I don't know.
Do you think he's still alive?
I don't have a comment on that.
Do you think Jessica had anything to do with his disappearance?
Ooh, I'm not going to comment on that either.
Why not?
I just feel like I just want to stay neutral in this situation, you know? I don't want to point fingers.
I don't think he had anything to do with it. A lot of people think, like the mom specifically knows more, and maybe grandpa. You know, this guy to add, another person. It's kind of like in the Summer Wells case, everybody's pointing fingers, right? Summer was done living witness to.
I don't think it's nice or it's right.
Do you think Vernal DeOrr had anything to do with baby DeOrr's disappearance?
I have no idea.
What about Bob?
Bob?
There was one other person at the campground, baby DeOrr's great-grandfather, Bob Walton. Bob died of cancer in June 2019.
This is Grandpa. This is Jessica's grandpa.
Trina Bates Clegg is Bob's daughter and Jessica's mom. She says a Bonneville County detective.
All right, now remember, he died, and she's going to talk about what he did before he
Talked
died.
with Bob one last time, the day before he died, about what happened.
Did your dad talk about that day a lot?
Sometimes yes and sometimes no. He talked about it that, you know, he just doesn't remember a lot. You know, he remembers staring at the mountains and staring at the birds, and, you know, he remembers the baby playing in the dirt, and, you know, he remembers the baby getting candy, and he would say that all the time is, you know, I'm sorry, you know, I'm sorry that I took my eyes off of him. You know, he felt really guilty because, you know, he was the last one to see baby DeOrr, and my dad went to his grave very, very sorry for this, for taking his eye off that little boy.
I know that this needs to be.
You know, a lot of people thinks this is an accident. Again, this is an accident. Something happened. They weren't keeping an eye on. I think it was just, I don't know.
Solved. I know the parents need closure, and I know everybody just wants to know what happened. So, and I wish I could tell everybody exactly what went down completely, but I don't remember everything.
Bowerman never named Bob or Isaac a suspect. The current Lemhi County Sheriff Steve Pinner does not consider any of the 4 people a suspect. Instead, he calls them uncleared persons of interest.
Okay, uncleared persons of interest is what the new sheriff, yeah, Candy, yeah, I noticed that too. But he calls the new sheriff uncleared persons of interest.
He told me, quote, other people have called them suspects, but I'm not committed to that theory. You can't just pursue one theory.
Now, I saw an updated interview that Nate from East Idaho News did with this sheriff. In my opinion, he sounded like he was pointing more toward the parents now.
Pinner has been the lead investigator on the case since DeOrr Kunz Jr.
Could be
disappeared.
wrong, that's my opinion.
And after 4 years of searching, could there be a break in the case?
Just bear with me. I promise I'll be able to prove my and my son's mother's innocence and be able to give everybody answers soon enough.
Next, why baby DeOrr's parents seem so confident the public will soon learn the truth.
What's the address of your emergency?
All right, here's the 911 call.
My 2-year-old son. We can't find him.
In the days after 2-year-old DeOrr Kunz Jr. disappeared from Timber Creek Campground in East Idaho, search and rescue, law enforcement, and dozens of volunteers scoured the area.
So you guys scoured, is it fair to say, every inch of this campground?
Definitely every inch of this right here, for sure, multiple times. We walked clear up to the reservoir 5 feet apart, and down that way for a couple miles.
And again, it's very similar. They claim if baby DeOrr was there, they would have found him. Just the same as they say of Summer. If Summer was where, where they have searched, they would have found her. More than once, absolutely.
No sign.
No. They had people diving in the water too.
Bobby says he never talked with the parents or Isaac or Bob. He remembers seeing them. He says they were told to stay back, away from the search.
What was the mood like that day? What was...
It's kind of you could tell the parents were kind of scared, kind of a little bit, just kind of off feeling. I mean, I see them on the side stand there watching and thinking everybody that come up, but I didn't really talk to them. Just seen them from a distance.
Baby DeOrr disappeared on a Friday. By Sunday, Bobby says law enforcement didn't ask for any more volunteers.
After the first day.
So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just after a few days of them searching, they stopped asking for volunteers. They knew at that point, in my opinion, he was
a day or two, and we didn't see nothing. It just seemed off to me, kind of, the whole situation.
Of course it's off because, you've got, 4 adults up there and a 2-year-old and you don't know what happened to him? Nobody knows? You're in the middle of nowhere, literally one way in, one way out.
Seemed off like if he was here for sure, because we scoured enough and there were so many people. If something was there, I think something would have been spotted, in my opinion.
So kind of as the hours and the days went on, you started getting skeptical?
Started of the story that was told a little bit.
The parents, Jessica Mitchell and Vernal DeOrr Kunz, said maybe an animal had gotten to him.
I've seen bear.
You have?
I have seen bear just right up here on multiple different occasions.
So is there a chance then?
I guess there's a chance, but with loose cowboy boots and stuff, if a bear was carrying, I don't see how shoes and stuff would stay on.
The parents also thought baby DeOrr could have been kidnapped. Law enforcement has said that's highly unlikely given the remoteness of the campground. There's only one road in and out.
You know how rough the road is.
See that? Look at this.
Enforcement has said that's highly unlikely given the remoteness of the campground.
One way in, one way out.
There's only one road in and out.
You know how rough the road is coming up here, and you can hear trucks coming from bouncing and stuff. If the family was right here, and I would think you'd hear somebody coming.
This was...
Don't you think? Just like in Dawn and Candace's, Ben Hill Road, one way in, one way out. You can hear someone coming forever on Ben Hill Road, just like you could hear.
It's their campsite. This is where little baby DeOrr was reportedly last playing around, where he was last seen, where he was last sleeping. Their campfire pit was right there. Their tents were probably set over there next to those trees, and this was their picnic table. Do you go back to that campground often?
I try to go up there at least once a year. I absolutely hate it up there, but at the same time, it makes me feel closer to my son.
Vernal.
She hates it up there, but it makes her feel closer. That doesn't make sense. If it makes you feel closer, wouldn't that be where you wanted to be?
DeOrr just went to the campground in mid-June 2019 with North Carolina-based private investigator David Marshburn. He'd asked David and the Search for Me Foundation to get involved. After 4 years, could there finally be some answers?
Okay, so this guy right here was another PI, and he believes the parents. He thinks the parents are telling the truth.
We feel we have got what we need.
David says his cadaver dogs made a hard alert on a specific area of the campground. He says they detected a scent indicating the presence of a body or remains.
I believe the way that my dogs acted, that when they hit the water, they could sense it and then went to it. Can we 100% say it's DeOrr? No. Can we say it's an Indian from way back? No. We don't know.
So I want to tell you about this because this is important. The dog did hit a scent. It did hit a scent. Now, what we know now, the reason it hit a scent is because someone had been up there within a month of baby DeOrr going missing and dumped cremains, ashes, into the dam area or whatever. It was one of the person's favorite places to be up there in that camping area. And so it was cremains of someone. It was not anything to do with baby DeOrr. And that's what the dog was hitting off.
Know what's 100% there. We just know the confidence in our dogs that there's human remains of some sort.
What was your emotional reaction to that news?
It was a lot of hope, like maybe this is it. Maybe we're getting answers. We waited so long, and that's the hardest part about all this, is not knowing if he's alive or if he's gone, and I need to grieve and mourn the loss of my son. But I had every emotion, like anxiety, sadness. I cried. I was hopeful that we were going to get some sort of answer. This is the start of some closure.
If David and his amazing team are correct, it's not the answer I want, but it is an answer. I can at least lay my son to rest, which is what he needs. He needs to be found. We need the answers. A lot of people would think that it would be just your heart would sink, and it's honestly, it is a form of hope because, again, like I said, it is not the answer I want, but it is an answer. And after 4 years, an answer is better than nothing.
If there is finally an answer, what is it about this time? This search with David and his dogs.
So this happened in what, 2015?
Others scoured the area and didn't find a thing.
Well, I wouldn't say they did.
It's going on 8 years.
I believe some of them did.
Still no answers after 8 years. Still no answers.
Based off of information, talking, some dogs did probably alert further down the stream. But, if you know how cadaver dogs work, pretty much, if you're going downstream and a dog comes down from below and something's up here, well, the water's toting the smell. So they follow it. And, it's all in how the trainer does with their dog, how they read their dog. But at the time, when our dog goes down there, and I'm trying to take him to a break, the dog kept working. He just went, and it's like, here he is, there's something here.
David says Sheriff Pinner was there when it happened. Pinner closed down the campground 2 weeks later. So far, the sheriff won't say what, if anything, they uncovered in the area of the hard alert. He says the closure was simply part of an annual search effort. But David believes it was to further investigate the area his dogs alerted to.
We got an area. Well.
Oh, yes. Thank you for mentioning that, Lady 7-Up. I appreciate that. Hey, Justice, I just want to let you know Sherry went to have gallbladder surgery today. I will let you know how she's doing. Thank you. Miss Sherry, she got sick last night and she had to have emergency gallbladder surgery today. So y'all keep Miss Sherry in your prayers, please. So yeah, that's very important. Thank you for mentioning that, Lady 7-Up. Thank you.
Well, now the sheriff's office has to do, like they said, due diligence to follow up on it. And if it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not.
Next, baby DeOrr's parents answer all the rumors surrounding the investigation and what they're doing now, 4 years later. 2-year-old baby DeOrr vanished from Timber Creek Campground near Leador. Grandfather Bob Walton and Bob's friend Isaac Reinwand.
I think that somebody took him. I still believe that. I still hang up his flyers. I still do what I have to do. It's the only thing I have left to do. There's no other options we have.
Vernal DeOrr says they used to get a lot of tips and calls of possible sightings, but after 4 years, not so much anymore. He blames Philip Klein, a Texas private investigator, for a lot of that. The family hired Klein 4 months after their boy disappeared to help find him. Klein asked them all questions in separate rooms. He handed over 10 hours of interviews to our news group.
All right, these are kind of weird things.
We find out what's going on. You know that.
My mind tells me, at first my mind told me at that time this killed my son, this had something to do with it.
I don't care. If it's my grandpa, I don't care. I just want my son back.
After about 6 weeks on...
Still nothing. I'm sorry, but doesn't he sound like Andrew? Maybe. Somebody kidnapped the tiny baby. I don't think nobody kidnapped this child. I think this child, there was an accident or something. Nobody kidnaps a child in the middle of nowhere. Just don't. One way in, one way out.
The job, Klein named Jessica and Vernal DeOrr suspects. They say when that happened, the public stopped searching for their little boy. They say Klein accused them without any evidence of proof. They've asked, but they say Klein has never provided them with one factual piece of evidence to back his claims. Klein is now off the case.
He essentially said you had something to do with his disappearance.
I feel like Klein's a joke, honestly. He makes statements about me saying I knew where my son was, but I wasn't going to tell them. If that was the case, I would have been arrested.
In my opinion,
you would think.
I wouldn't hire him to find a lost dog in an empty parking lot.
Both Klein and retired Limhi County Sheriff Lynn Bowerman said they doubted the child was kidnapped.
Okay, this is an actual updated picture of what baby DeOrr would look like, probably look like today. Rudy Ferris case.
Who would go to a remote campground to kidnap a child. They also found no evidence an animal took him. If someone, or all of them, on that camping trip knows what happened to baby DeOrr, would they eventually turn on one another? Law enforcement tried that tactic.
Were you offered immunity?
Yes.
So they tried to get him to turn on each other. Still nothing. And She was offered immunity, the mother.
I was, and I told them no, because they offered me immunity if I told them where the body was. And I said,
Who's they?
Bonneville County, FBI, and I believe it was Lehigh County too.
So did they then thought you did it? They wanted to offer you immunity if you confessed and showed them where the body was?
Or if I had any knowledge of somebody doing it and me knowing where the body was. And I told them, yeah, I would love to sign this, but I don't have any information for you, so I'm not signing anything.
What was the immunity again? Was it a get out of jail card?
It
That's what mine
was
said.
like child endangerment or something like that, and probation.
Child endangerment and probation. Still nothing.
Something super small, and I said, well, that's all great and fine, but I don't have anything to tell you. I don't know. I would have come out with it a long time ago if I knew.
Have you ever been offered immunity? There was talk of that.
Oh, that was Klein, but again, yeah, Klein did, but if somebody comes to you and offers you immunity, you don't have any more information to give them, it really doesn't do you any good.
Both Klein and Bowerman said the parents kept changing their stories. They said Jessica and...
I mean, this was them, you know, right when the child went missing. They looked like they were a little more on the rougher side than they look now, or when this interview was done. Not this interview, but the one.
Vernal couldn't pass parts of a polygraph test. Jessica says she took 2 polygraphs, one with Bonneville County, the other with the FBI. She said she was never told she failed them.
You know, it amazes me because when I took my polygraph test, they said they were inconclusive passes. And I asked the guy what that meant. And he said, as a grieving mom, you know, he said, you're a grieving mom. This is an inconclusive pass.
But they never gave me the results.
Inconclusive pass. Inconclusive pass. As a grieving mom, this is an inconclusive pass.
It's the FBI, they don't have to. It's not that's not what they do.
I took a lie detector test. I'm not commenting if it was positive or negative.
The 4th person on that camping trip, Bob Walton, has since passed away. He died in June 2019 from cancer.
For those of you who don't know, I'm his father, Colonel DeOrr Kunz. We really appreciate the support, the help, the communities that have come together for us. We will find him. One way or another, we will find him, no matter what it takes.
The parents also came under fire from the public for not grieving enough during the first few days.
Oh, you're not grieving the way that an innocent parent would grieve in those days right after he disappeared.
Yeah, it actually is comical because how is a person supposed to grieve? Like, there's no set, you know, there's not a book on, oh, if you lose a child or they're missing, this is how you're supposed to.
I get it. I mean, everybody does grieve differently, but there is a natural, organic norm to a crying mother, right? It doesn't matter what language the mother speaks. You know a crying mother, right? You know a baby. You know, once you've been around babies, you know they have different cries. You know what I mean? There's a cry if they're hungry. There's a cry if they're just whiny. There's a cry if they actually get really hurt. There's a cry, you know, if they're just hurt. You know, there's different cries. There's norms to this as well. Randy shows a lot more emotion than this one. I agree.
To deal with it because I'm more of an internal person. I try not to cry. I try to numb myself, and that's what
Why no?
did. But I couldn't leave my apartment for months. I didn't interact with people. I still have a hard time interacting with people and having friends and things like that because it's so hard to know who to trust and who is there for the right reasons and who's not.
Who to trust and who's there for the right reasons. What do you mean? That rubs me the wrong way, who to trust.
Not. And I grieve in my own way, and just because I'm not bawling every day does not mean that I'm not hurting.
Those people don't understand that when you lose a child, there's only so much grieving you can do, and you're still in find him mode. You ain't got time to grieve. You don't have time to, your whole goal, your whole idea is your mind is running 1,000,000 miles an hour. You will never feel so mentally exhausted. There's no pamphlet on this. There's no book that's been written. There's nothing you can, if you ever think this is what I would do in that situation or this is what I would do, you're wrong. It is the most sickening and lost feeling you'll ever find in your life.
The public had another theory based on Jessica's custody of her 2 other children.
That was one public theory out there on social media, that you had either given up or lost custody of 2 of your other children and that you no longer wanted DeOrr Jr.
I never signed over my rights. At the time, it was, I lost my job, Vernal lost his job. We just had little man. And because I knew my ex-husband was more stable, I asked him, can you have more custody of the kids, because this is what is best for them.
So you got that. She gave up 2 of her other kids. Most people, whether you're struggling or not, you don't just give your kids away.
Bowerman named the parents suspects in 2016, but never filed charges. He told me then he planned to take his time to make sure the case was solid. Bowerman retired later that year. One of the lead investigators on the case, Steve Pinner, became, but I'm not committed to that theory. You can't just pursue one theory.
But can you understand why some people in the public might think that you are guilty?
Well, of course, I have to remember that if I wasn't in my shoes, I know how it looks, I know how it sounds.
He knows how it looks, he knows how it sounds. So I see you, I may have the guy that I know who is a certified polygrapher come on and talk about that maybe.
I know where they're coming from. The only difference is I wouldn't, much like most people that I've actually met, I wouldn't be voicing my opinion without any fact. I wouldn't be condemning somebody or judging somebody without any fact, just based off of some guy's opinion with no fact backing it.
Can you understand why some people would point the finger at you?
I absolutely understand that.
Next, 4 years in the spotlight takes its toll on the parents. 4 years and still no answers. Where could they? He would now be 6.5.
There you go. This is an updated post here.
He was only 2.5 when he went missing, and now it's 4 years that he's been missing.
It's actually 7 years now.
He's been missing longer than he was with me, and so that's really sad to me.
He'd be working on stuff with me, working on his own stuff, riding a dirt bike, riding 4-wheelers. He'd be building stuff with me. That's exactly what he'd be doing.
You look like there might be a little tear in your eye.
It's not the easiest thing. I think about this stuff, and it's good stuff, but it's not the easiest thing.
What do you think about?
Just how he'd be now. I keep positive, and it is positive. But the best thing I ever did was been a father, and I've missed out on that. And now it is what it is.
Sad.
Sorry.
It's okay. Take your time.
Vernal DeOrr says he hasn't given up hope. He carries with him his son's favorite stuffed animal, Monkey, and his favorite toy truck. He showed them to us out of his truck.
So we just called him Monkey. And he'd run this poor thing through the mud and through everything else, and I've never washed it, he just goes everywhere.
He'd be holding this and the monkey.
Oh yeah, all this damage is done from him. All the wear, that's all done from him.
Vernal DeOrr says over the past 4 years, people have threatened him in public, called him a baby killer. He says he's even had death threats, lost jobs, and when he tried to rent an apartment in Las Vegas to be closer to family, a landlord turned him down, saying she Googled his name.
And you become lost in the world. And his mother and I, Jessica and I, have both become lost in this world, but I've learned how to find myself. I was heavily drinking, extremely heavily drinking, after I lost my son. So I decided I'd start living my life as if he walked through my door right now. What would he think of me?
Well, and that's the way, you wish John and Candace would do. I don't know about the father. I really don't know. Like, he seems more convincing than the mother, the grandfather, though.
what would he think of what I become? And that'll straighten you up quick.
Vernal DeOrr now lives in Bear Lake, Idaho. He's self-employed and has worked in oil fields, driving truck, and most recently, a custom paint and upholsterer for cars. The two
Jessica and him, they're no longer together. Nobody's been cleared.
high school sweethearts have moved on from one another. Jessica is married and lives in Idaho Falls.
I know that I still have to move forward in life and, have a job and provide for my kids and do what I need to do for myself too.
She says she's also lost jobs, been threatened at her workplace and in public. And at a vigil for baby DeOrr last year, she says someone yelled murderer at them.
What is it like to be Jessica Mitchell?
Some people are very supportive. Some people look at me and instantly hate me. People that haven't even met me before think I hurt my son. And that's the worst thing in the world, because I just wish that for a second they could feel what I feel and know, what I know, that I didn't do anything to my son.
Do you still have a good relationship with her? How often do you guys still talk?
I try not to get...
Here is a timeline of the days and all of that leading up to little baby DeOrr going missing. And it is very, very, very detailed. DeOrr Kunz Jr.'s timeline, the days leading up. Let me show you this. End of June 2015, 2 weeks before DeOrr was reported missing. Official report can be found in CPS records. So again, going back to Don and Can in this case, baby DeOrr's, so many similarities. DeOrr had suffered such severe sunburn while visiting Bear Lake with his family. Mom fell asleep. It was so bad that it had caused huge blisters across his shoulder blades and down his back. This was the worst the daycare had seen, and they had no choice but to report it as neglect. Vernal's family member tried to get the parent to take DeOrr to the doctor to be seen. It is unclear, even though Trina states he was seen, if he was really taken into proper care. Vernal's mom, DeOrr Kunz, also admits to sunburn. So, the daycare, it had to be really bad. A 2-year-old, a baby's skin is so delicate. It's not used to any sun rays or anything, right? So 2 weeks prior to going missing, I'm sorry. It's just another form of neglect. If you are going to be out in the sun for extended periods of times, and you have a baby, you put sunscreen on that child. When did Donna Candace come? Can. We have enough names in the cases. I know, right? One second. Note, CPS was involved in DeOrr's home at some point. No proof, only word of mouth from trusted source. Monday, June 6, 2015, last seen by a trusting relative, confirmed still alive and well. The days were all the lies started. Wednesday, July 8, 2015. Just written statement, cousin Keisha. It says, just early day movement with DeOrr. Post a crying selfie to Facebook. early afternoon, 2:23. Per Jess, packed camper, and with Trina, Jess DeOrr were at the house. Jess says Trina asked her Wednesday to go. It seems Trina had different story and plans. Trina got off work. There was no phone ping on Wednesday night. Per PI, clan error made in the statement had been fixed. The daycare says obtaining original statement from daycare soon will testify if needed that DeOrr was actually in daycare Montpelier all day Wednesday, and even gave Sheriff Penner a statement over the phone. Says that Vernal picked DeOrr up in the evening and was going to go camping in Idaho Falls, not Lador. I know I'm pronouncing it wrong. Come to find out, Vernal lived with his dad. So the father of baby DeOrr lived with his dad. Dennis, all the way up to the camping trip, and Jess moved out Dennis's home shortly before and moved into the Ada apartment below Aunt Lenny. It seems that the parents separated in living arrangements, but still saw each other until they finally split up after DeOrr was reported missing. Vernal would often say that Jess, meaning Jessica, at the Ada residence, and Jess would travel back and forth. Jess seemed to have DeOrr more than Vernal. I'm looking at this timeline. Huge red flag. Campground being used. 911 called was at 2:38 p.m. Area of concern. Why did Isaac say Vernal and the baby were not behind them? Huge red flag. Jessica states he was alone with baby by his truck for about 20 to 30 minutes. Did this happen right after breakfast time? All of a sudden, needed to head out of the camp to put him somewhere. Is that why Isaac says he's sleeping while all this happened? I'm gonna have to learn more about this. That's very interesting. I'm 56 and my kids never slept anywhere and never out of my sight. Oh, amen to that, for real. Amen to that. Nobody will treat your kids and love your kids like you will. So that's just that. Items and areas hit by dog shovels, grandpa's coveralls, reservoir truck, black. See, I really feel like there's all kinds of stuff. I dropped that link for you guys so y'all can view it. I think when kids go missing, the truth is only known by two people with the same mission, staying out of jail. If only two people know it, never tell anyone else, so no one can tell. Yeah. I agree with that. I do agree with that. Thank you, Jenny. I don't know. I feel like mom and grandpa probably know. Maybe mom and dad, but definitely, in my opinion, mom and grandpa. I think there was an accident that happened. It's not really a safe place to be, camping with a 2-year-old with a really rapid creek very close by. Were they drug users? I don't know. I have my suspicions, but I don't know. From just looking at them, like I haven't dug deep enough to see that. So it's crazy. That's about 2010, but I ain't gonna read it out. But yeah, you know, there was CPS and everything else. Hey, I'm live. I'll call you back. Sorry. That maybe an opinion was on. Hey, I'm live. I'll call you back. One second, I gotta check something. No, that's Google Docs. There's a lot on here of if you go to like Facebook, I'm trying to find something. It's like Nate Eaton. Okay, here's no, it's not that. Baby DeOrr. I don't know, there's a lot between the two that just doesn't add up to me. Hey, I see. Did you message me? Let me check something. Timeline. Sorry, guys. I've just got to make sure. Yeah, okay. This is the timeline right here. I see you check that because I don't think it shouldn't be in our docs. It shouldn't be. Because I see you here. Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to jump off. I'll be back in a little bit. I got to make sure something, I just got a call. I need to figure something out. So I'll be back in a little bit. I love you all. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't. I'm still trying to figure out why Brandy needed to friend someone who wasn't in there. I don't know what you mean by that. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you guys on the next one. Be careful jumping. That's right. Thanks.